Your car is a machine. No real surprise there. Of course, everybody knows that. And like any machine, if you have a problem, of course, you want to fix it. Well, you may find in your car that your battery's died. Well, you may take a look at it and realize that you've had that battery a long time, about time to change it. You change it out, and shortly thereafter, it dies again. Well, at that point, you may be looking at, wait a second, maybe it's not the battery, it's the problem. And you may find out that if you look back through the chain on the machine, you'll find out that actually there's a belt broken and your alternator's not working. Therefore, your battery continues to die. It's not charging. The human body is no different. It is one machine, several different parts, but one machine. And sometimes when we have a problem, if we back up a little bit and we look at the entire machine, we can probably find what's actually causing the problem. The only difference in this machine is it can actually heal itself. Taking that overall approach, looking at the entire system, and addressing that problem, there's no telling how long you can live. We'll discuss that and continue our conversation with Dr. Paul Langevin today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today for the continuation of a podcast that we did last week in speaking with my good friend, the osteopathic physician, Dr. Paul Langevin of Star Valley Osteopathy. Now, you'll realize that we actually cut this in two because he and I got very deep in this conversation. And I didn't want to pack too much in an episode. And I also didn't want to leave anything out because we started on fascia, which is something we wanted to discuss in great depth. It's the largest organ in the body. It was not named an organ until 2015. So we're still studying everything about it. And if you saw the last podcast, and if you didn't, go back and check it out because it's amazing how much the fascia and what we don't know about it is tied to so many problems and so many different parts of the systems of our body. Dr. Langevin talked about how he addresses the fascia. But we went on in the conversation, we started talking about the different connections. The different pieces and parts are actually connected. For instance, you'll hear us talk in the beginning of this, and we talked a little bit in the last podcast, and that is about a knee injury may be coming from somewhere else. And it takes that overall approach, stepping back, looking at the entire machine, trying to find not only fixing the problem, but trying to find what caused it. And we actually go into how that increases your lifespan, increases your longevity. I'm going to tell you before we get to the podcast, I want to tell you how to get in touch with us. If you have any questions about this podcast or any other, you can reach me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. Personaledgefitness.com, of course, is our website. Personal Edge Fitness is our Facebook page. Hit me up on X at Team PE if you're so inclined. And stay tuned. If you have any questions for Dr. Langevin, we give us contact information at the end of this. And if you'll notice on the description, if you're looking at this on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll notice that we have in the description his website, his email address, and his phone number. Be more than glad to handle your phone call. So appreciate you joining us today for the continuation of the podcast with Dr. Paul Langevin, osteopathic physician of Star Valley Osteopathy.
You're going to repair 80, 90%, maybe even 100%.
Sure.
But then a month later, you do something else, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that twinged again. So we collect these traumas throughout our life.
Right, okay.
Car accidents. Most of my patients are always looking for that one thing that caused this.
Right. It could be straw that broke the camel's back, an accumulation.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Rarely, it's unusual, not rare. It's unusual for it to be the one thing. Yes,
right.
You had the car accident, but it's usually the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
So what I do is I get in there and I work on the fascia. Some techniques are very gentle. Other techniques I'm really getting
aggressive.
in there and getting at
sure.
it. And people are amazed at how quickly their mechanics. And I try to look, yes, I was trained in the anatomy. I can find this muscle or that nerve or what have you.
Sure.
But I try to look at the entire mechanics of things.
Right.
Like my patients that come in with knee pain, chronic knee pain.
Yes.
I don't touch the knee for the first couple of visits.
Okay.
I'm working on the foreleg, the ankle, the hip, the low back.
Yes.
I'm getting the mechanics working again there.
Right.
And that's going to start offloading the knee.
Period. Yes.
And so, the only problem with this building is I don't have stairs. So I'll have them walk up the stairs during the first visit. They're like, okay, there's no more knee pain.
Right.
Because now your glutes firing.
Right. Exactly.
Now your hamstrings firing.
Exactly.
Okay. Everybody will sit in the doctor's office and they'll okay, that my quad must be my knee extender.
Yeah.
In that situation, yes.
Yes.
If you want to go uphill, it's your glute.
Right. Period.
If your glute's not working,
exactly.
so so when your glute's not working, your quad has to work extra. It's
Right.
not meant to move body weight.
Right.
Your
right.
psoas is working harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then you put all that strain on that patellar tendon right there.
Exactly.
And that causes a lot of pain.
And everybody thinks that, okay, all I want you to look at, in fact, I wish I'd just send this part of my body in because that's all you need to mess with.
Yes.
Too many times it is coming from somewhere else. I've said
Exactly.
this many times. We have eight or nine different ways that when we opened the facility 9 years ago in the new facility in Mobile, I put 8 or 9 ways in there just to deal with hips alone. Mm-hmm. That's before you get into the brains of my incredible staff that can come up with a myriad of different exercises.
Exactly.
To deal with hips. Why? Because with the knee problems we were having. What? Wait a second. Yes, the knee problems we were having, the back problems we were having. I argue all the time, by the way, to my good friends that are physical therapists that I send people to, and we send people back and forth, not trying to make you upset, but they make a killing off of working on hips and addressing knee problems, back problems. I think that the multi-hip machine alone, you could probably put a nice price tag on what that brings in. And what you were saying, psoas. Just for instance, the hip is associated with all those different pains. So the fact that you approach it from an overall standpoint, to me, that's a lot more effective than going from a surgical standpoint of I'm just going to look at this one area and try to repair it. It's sort of like, I don't know, if you've got something in your car that's connected to another part, you keep replacing the end result and you're not doing anything at the beginning.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Fascia plays a big role. You can't really break it down into, okay, I'm going to look at the Achilles tendon and the calf muscle. He's a massage therapist into Rolfing. It's called Anatomy Trains. His last name is Myers.
Okay.
And so they did these dissections where they can show fascial connections from the heel all the way to the skull.
Oh, wow.
So these are big chains of fascia, and fascia is supposed to absorb the forces of life.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody talks about, running is going to hurt my knees. No, it's not.
Right.
Running doesn't hurt your back. Running doesn't hurt your knees.
Right.
When you start having dysfunction in the fascia, then the forces start going into the joints, and that's when you start getting damage.
Okay, I'm sorry. You get me excited.
Triggered.
He's gonna know. He's gonna. Everybody, I've got fans out there. I've got clients that are watching this. I know, and you're gonna think that I paid Paul to say that, but they know how often I use that exact analogy, exactly what you're talking about there, that about what actually caused all the problems. So
yeah, the fascial mechanics are not working appropriately.
Right.
And once you start fixing those, it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating. I've had
sure.
so many knee patients. I work on them. Usually it's from here down is what I focus on the first appointment.
Right, I'm sure.
And again, I really don't touch the knees. I examine it, make sure,
Of course, yeah.
okay, well, this is a surgical knee. You need to go get your ACL reconstructed.
Right. Exactly.
If that looks fine, we get the glutes and everything else working appropriately, instantaneously, they're walking upstairs. Because now the muscle cells themselves do not have nerve endings going in there to monitor them.
Sure.
Okay? It has a nerve to fire the muscle cell.
Right.
But there's no sensors to say, hey, I have muscle pain. It's all fascial pain.
Right. Right. Okay.
So within the fascia lives everything for the muscle.
Right.
And including all these sensory cells,
Sure.
Purkinje fibers, Golgi apparatus, proprioceptors.
Right.
And these are constantly feeding information to the brain.
Sure.
And they kind of smooth out our movement.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's why when you were a kid and you started writing, it was horrible.
Right.
But then you start training all these little proprioceptors.
Right.
And it feeds to the brain to smooth out the motion. So your writing is better. My writing is bad because I'm a doctor and I'm predisposed to that.
And mine is too because it's hereditary.
And so, and that happens in our daily life.
Yeah.
If you've been living with this hip pain or this knee pain for a long time, you get used to moving a certain way.
Right. Right.
And so when I work on people, they'll get up for the first time and they're like, this isn't my body.
Right.
Because now your brain has to get used to new information.
Sure.
And so when there is, and you've seen this, when there is damage in the fascia, like say the glute, the glute is responsible for so many problems.
Very much so. Largest muscle in the body.
Exactly. Strong, and people don't realize that. They see the sexy quad and you're like, well, that must be the strongest
Right.
one.
Exactly.
Not
No.
even close.
No. Not even nowhere close.
It's a race for second place.
Right. Right.
And so when that fascial tissue around the glute is deranged, it's sending a signal to the brain saying, we're not working quite right.
Right.
So the brain is going to down-regulate that muscle.
Right.
How many people have you had in your career say, I keep on working on this muscle, it just doesn't get stronger.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Exactly.
the brain's not going to let you. All it knows is that there's damage, and so the brain's first job is to protect itself.
Period.
So
exactly.
it's going to downregulate. And I don't know what the number is. It's going to say, I'm going to only let you fire at 40%.
Right.
And then that's why when I get in there and I get that tissue working again, it's almost like it's literally a switch. They're walking up the stairs like, this is the first time in 10 years I haven't had pain.
Right.
Not in the glute, but in the knee.
This is how, and what you're talking about, excuse me for interrupting, but what you were talking about there about the fact that the body, the brain shutting it down. Mm-hmm. This is what I speak about quite often on the podcast about how smart the body is. The human body is something we've been studying, I say since the 1500s, probably earlier, and we still don't know everything about it. Like you were saying, the fascia wasn't even classified as its own, the organ system until 2018. And we're still studying it. The how intelligent it is. Like you said a minute ago, we know the brain will shut it down. We don't even know what percentage it will shut it. The brain does. The brain is very clear on this. It's far smarter than we are. And how many times that we think we're going to force our body to do something and we don't. And what you were talking about a minute ago, we were talking about the handwriting situation, about your brain learning that. Mm-hmm. This is the same explanation I use for balance. Mm-hmm. People think, well, at a certain age, your balance just goes away. Well, that's crazy. No, we stop challenging it. You look at how we taught a toddler to walk. We basically encouraged them to walk, encouraged them, hey, come here, walk to daddy, and then encouraging them to stimulate that cerebellum and get it going and what have you.
That's why those little baby walkers are the worst thing you can do for your kid. Get them up walking.
I love it. Yeah, exactly.
They need to feel gravity.
Now, I will say this, like the baby walkers, a lot of times I believe we try to make things too easy, which is hampering development. But what I do like, I will say, and of course I don't have kids, but and that is we've gone from the training wheels to the push bikes. Have you seen these? The no pedal bikes? Now I like that because we're challenging, we're learning balance. It's the same basic idea. So.
No, it's a great thing.
But back to what you were saying about it shutting down the glute, not effectively using the glutes. Too many times we have people coming in, and by the way, all our clients, if you want to know justification why Josh and Charlie especially, and I know that Aubrey's in this territory too. Katie, I don't want to leave any of y'all out. I love the deadlift. You'll now know why. It's because how much we need to focus on working that area. Your approach to looking at it, like when somebody comes with a knee problem, once you find out that we don't have a bleed and we don't have we don't need a knee surgery here, then you don't touch the knee. You look at everything else going on. It's one of the first things we do in a workout is an evaluation workout. Yes. Yeah, but it's right here. I got this pain. Hang on. We're going to back up. We're going to take a broad approach, and we're going to find out most likely, a lot of times, it's somewhere else. So I want to go into how this heals the body. You and I are big believers, and that's one thing I liked when you and I first talked about the fact that we really don't know how long we can live. Now, as far as working with the fascia and doing the manipulations, opening that up, freeing it up so the body can heal itself, talk about the longevity of that. Talk about what you're seeing as far as your clients or your patients are concerned about their longevity. I mean, is it mainly prevention that we're working on here?
Some of it's treatment, but others, and they'll, what can I do to prevent this from happening?
Right.
And my first thing out of my mouth is be active.
Yeah.
Move.
Right.
Get stronger.
Period.
Is the best thing for longevity. And not only longevity, I mean, you can sit on a couch and live for 100 years, but...
Oh, wait, existing versus living.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so I deal with a very active population here. I have 80-year-olds. Well, I want to go hike up Snow King.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I want to go do this, or I want to go do that. Get stronger.
Right.
And that is key. You have a lot of people that, well, I'm going to do push-ups and I'm going to do pull-ups. I'm going to do body weight exercises.
Right.
You need some sort of external resistance.
I understand. Exactly.
And that's what I want. I want you. So I power lift. I like long movements.
Right.
I don't go in there and focus on one muscle because I'm trying to work an entire system.
Yeah.
So deadlift, we think, okay, well, that's back and glutes. No. It's from the heels all the way up to the base of your skull.
Yeah.
It's also the traps. It's the shoulders. It's everything.
Right.
It's your grip strength. So by getting stronger, regardless of your age, making sure you have good quality protein intake, make sure that your caloric intake is good. Those are key. You have enough fat coming into your diet and cholesterol.
Exactly. And of course, water. I'm going to point that out. But
lots
definitely.
of water.
Yeah.
Lots of water. And so these are all key to longevity and just living the life you want to do.
Right.
That's kind of what I get on my patients. I need you to move.
Right.
If you want to stop seeing me,
True.
move, get stronger.
Well, this is what we were talking about earlier, and I can ask you the easy question because I know the answer to it, and that is, okay, at what age does all that stop or slow down? You're going to say the same thing I do.
It doesn't.
There's not one.
No.
It has no bearing on it whatsoever. But this is why I asked the question and about the longevity is because I know that because I see your field as more preventative, and it's yes, corrective. But okay, why did it happen in the first place? How can we keep it from happening again?
Exactly.
And that's the biggest part of it. That's what we do. I mean, that's what we do in our field. And how many times I have to? It's difficult because of I'll have to say the lack of education out there. But it's difficult sometimes to convince folks, hey, look, you can get better. And how many times in speaking with them that look, I've got this injury or whatever. Wait a second. Do you have nerve connection there? Can you get communication to that part of the body? Yes. Okay. Do you have circulation there? Yes. Yes, I do. Are you missing a joint? Are you missing? No, I'm not. Then you can repair it. If I did that with a 12-year-old and had that situation, we wouldn't just go, okay, that's it. Your knee's gone forever. We're going to look at him and go, But I'm always shocked by that approach when it comes to somebody that's got so many numbers on the calendar. This also, but we're going to follow up this with another podcast, and this is a second part now of this podcast. But we've got another podcast coming up because it's something that and I want to touch on it briefly. Something I didn't know about your history until we were speaking just a few days ago about your getting the MPH. And your experience that you had there, and that's about getting a master's in public health. Here you are with the DO, and then you're getting a master's in public health, and then the I guess it was a thesis or research paper or something that you had produced. Don't go too much into it. We're just going to go into it later.
Yeah. So my focus I had two focuses. One was for the Navy, and that was fatigue and sleep in aviation, which is huge.
Right.
But my other one, which was more important to me personally, was the myth and misconceptions of nutrition.
Right.
From a public health standpoint.
I'm going to stop you there because you're going to have to tune into that podcast, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint. What we're talking about right now, about the lack of education, the misunderstanding, and as you told me before in the podcast about how much you're talking to your clients about explaining to them about fascia, explaining about, hey, look, this is a thing. This is what's going on. The resistance that he ran into because he was presenting facts. I mean, cited clinical facts. Ran into, well, I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
The most unscientific statement.
Yeah, exactly.
When presented with scientific data.
Exactly. Look, as you can see, that since he and I do think alike, Dr. Langevin and I can sit here and talk all day long about this subject. I'm going to have to bring the second part here to a close, but I look forward to doing that next podcast with you, and I thank you so much for being on
Thank you very much.
So if you have any questions about this, contact us, 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. Garrett at personaledgefitness.com, our website, Facebook page. Hit me up at Team PE on X. But if you have any questions dealing with this particular subject and are interested in the services of my good friend, Dr. Paul Langevin, how do we get in touch with you?
Well, you can visit my website. It's at www.starvalleyOMM.com. And then I'm also at 307-259-9973. I usually turn off my phone at night, but I usually respond to voicemails.
Well, they can contact you through the website, though, can't
they can contact me through the website, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And located in beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. Is it still referred to as Star Valley or not?
Alpine is the northern terminus of Star Valley.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's part of it.
If you're interested, don't know where that is, we're about I almost say, you may correct me on this, 45 minutes to an hour south of Jackson.
From Alpine, yeah, it's about half hour.
About half
45
hour.
minutes.
Yeah, gotcha. So, and clients from all over. I mean, you've got clients from Idaho, from Wyoming, from
Utah, Colorado.
Yeah.
I have people driving 4, 5, 6 hours.
No matter where you're located, if you're interested in any information on this, loves to help people, reach out to my good friend, Dr. Langevin. Working with fascia, learning how to live longer by being preventative to your actions just one more way. We help you live your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.